This is the Abe for Legal. This is the Abe Legal. This is the Abe for President Legal podcast for Friday, September 14th. Friday, October, Friday. Let's do this over. Okay, now let me start this over now. That definitely does not look good. So maybe if I can. That's perfect. This is your Abe. Welcome to Abe for President, your legal update for Friday, August the 14th, here broadcasting from Washington, D.C., the nation's capital of the United States. I'm Talib Kareem, your host for the program and the CEO of Abe Legal, where we are set up to help families, businesses, and individuals to survive this pandemic by getting access to legal services 24 hours a day. If you need help with a grant, modification loans, need help with taking care of a dispute with your employer over getting the right equipment in order to go back to work, if you've been laid off and you believe that you're wrongfully terminated, all these things you can get help with today by going to abe.legal. So let's get into it. There are four things I want to cover today. First of all, why is it that 2 weeks has passed and 34 million Americans who had received unemployment benefits, an extra $600 in unemployment benefits. Some of them had not gotten any unemployment benefits until the $600. So some of them were getting unemployment benefits before the $600, and some of them were not getting unemployment benefits. But again, why is it that those benefits were stopped, and when will they be basically returning? Second of all, I'm going to talk about the executive order the president signed last week on Saturday, and when the money that was promised, that initially was supposed to be $400, but now has been pared back. When that money, how much money can you expect, and when you can expect that money? And lastly, I'm going to talk about how long, once you get that money, can you expect that money to continue unless Congress passes a new stimulus package to renew the full amount of those benefits? And then lastly, I'm going to talk about what you can do to try to break this stalemate, to free up this money from basically the politics that's keeping it from being passed and sent back out to the American public. So those are the four things that you can expect from this video. First of all, why is it that 2 weeks has passed and the money has not basically been renewed? Well, as I talked about in a blog that's getting ready to release in the next few days, the answer is spelled out in the word politics, which means politics. Again, you have different factions, mostly on one side the Republicans and on the other side the Democrats. And both of them are playing politics right now. And one of the big things that is coming out, as you may know, is the Democratic and Republican conventions. There was a lot of news at the beginning of the week that Kamala Harris, senator from California, was tapped to be the running mate of former Vice President Joe Biden. So that news essentially clouded the entire and dominated the entire week, and nobody focused much attention at all on these unemployment checks that had been stopped and negotiations to get that money back into the hands of the American public. Well, next week, instead of continuing to negotiate a renewal of those unemployment benefits, mostly all the Democrats are going to be tuned in to the first ever virtual convention. This convention was scheduled to be held in Wisconsin, and now we understand that it's going to be almost all virtual and done, on both broadcasting platforms like traditional platforms as well as these, such as YouTube and the others. So that's what you can expect. Unfortunately, nothing and next week, and perhaps nothing the week after, because the week after the Democratic convention is the Republican convention. And again, that's when the president and the Republicans who dominate the United States Senate will be tuned into their convention. So this is crazy, because while people are, essentially politicking, literally politicking, Americans are facing evictions because the eviction moratorium ran out. Another thing that also ran out was the moratorium on disconnections of utilities. So up until August the 3rd, right around there, a lot of states, I know at least in Tennessee, we had one client relating to this today. We found out that the moratorium on cutting people off from, their water bills and power bills, that those moratoriums ended on August the 3rd. So again, you have people who are facing not only eviction, but also termination of their utilities. And so while you have, again, people politicking, people are either going to be either out of power and out of water in their homes, or out of their homes altogether, because the money that they were depending to pay their bills, including their rent, has basically been cut, in some cases canceled outright. This is ridiculous. So again, that's the first answer to the question, or that's the answer to the first question. Answer to the second question is, okay, President Trump agreed, or he signed a executive order to provide $400 of unemployment benefits. How much money actually is going to be given, and when can you expect that? So first of all, the president, again, through executive order, directed that about $443 billion be tapped, a fund that had about $443 billion be tapped, in order for those money to be repurposed and sent and paid to the states to fund checks for unemployment benefits. He talked about $400. Well, only $300 of those checks were supposed to come from the federal government. The other $100 was supposed to come from the states. However, because of some issues around that, the executive order was modified through a memorandum. And in that modification, the states don't need to chip in $100. All they need to do is to document that they are already paying people $100. So that means that in terms of the extra money, if you were getting money from the state government, then you can expect, instead of getting an extra $600, you can expect an extra $300. So again, if you were getting $100, then you can expect an extra $300 to go into your plate. And if you were getting no money, then you can expect no money, because again, in order for you to actually get some of that $300 from the federal government, you have to at least be receiving $100. So again, there are a lot of people who were, let's say, gig workers, folks who had their own jobs, professionals like me, a lawyer or a doctor or accountant or engineer, whose business had dried up during COVID, who had began to get some of that money from the federal government, $600, Well, right now, because again, they weren't able and qualified to receive normal unemployment benefits because they didn't have a 9 to 5 job. So therefore, their benefits are going to be cut completely. We're talking about at least, in some estimates, 5 million people. So again, that's crazy. Uh, but nevertheless, some people of those 34 million will be able to get possibly that money. But the question is then when? How long will it take for this money to come? The question was posed to the White House, and they are suggesting that it could take about 1 to 2 weeks for the new program to be created in order for the $300 to be basically given to Americans. And this is, again, another sad thing because, again, while people are needing that money to be able to pay for their bills today, it may be another 1 to 2 weeks before they even get the money. And then the last question is that even if those monies do start coming, how long will they last? Well, again, the amount of money that was, again, targeted would only last some, again, initially it was announced that the money would last until December, but in fact, that's not the case. The money is actually only going to last at most for 6 weeks. And that is unless there is a natural disaster, which generally always happens in September for folks who've been around for a while, hurricanes and the like. And so if that happens, then you can basically, cancel out that money immediately. So these are the things that are going on that you need to know about. And then the question is what can you do about it? Well, one of the things that has again, as I talked about at the beginning of the conversation, is that the money is being held up in politics. So the people who are actually charged, whose jobs it is to negotiate that money, they're going to be politicking literally the next 2 weeks and out at conventions. Well, I am suggesting that perhaps what we should be doing is calling on a mass blackout of the Democratic and Republican conventions until that money for the $600 unemployment benefits, as well as the money for the stimulus checks that we have been talking about. And at this point, because again, people have been already hurt right now, we don't need to be talking about one check. We need to be talking about a monthly check. Senator Kamala Harris, to her credit, has called for a $2,000 a month for every American, and I think that's absolutely correct. That's exactly what needs to be happening. So again, you need to get this $600 unemployment money back in there, plus $2,000 a month. That would give people at least a basic income in order to be able to stay in their homes and be able to stay off the streets during a pandemic. Because again, if they are on the streets, you can almost guarantee there's going to be an explosion in COVID cases. So again, that's what you can do about it. I'm going to be including additional ideas about what can be done about it every time we issue this podcast, this conversation called Aid for President. And so therefore, if you want to find out what additional steps can be taken and how we can actually help you to take those steps at Abe Legal, then go and subscribe to this channel by clicking below the subscribe option. Definitely like it. And if you have any questions or ideas about how you can actually survive this pandemic, then drop those questions into the comment and we can get back answers to those questions. Again, if you are a family or an individual facing eviction and you need help with negotiating some terms with your landowner, contact Abe Legal. If you have, again, been recently terminated from your job and you think it's unfair and you need, again, a lawyer to basically, first of all, review what happened and to determine whether or not you actually have a case, contact Abe Legal. If you are a small business who is struggling to keep your lights on and your employees actually on your payroll, and you want to learn out about how you can tap into some grants or some modifications of your existing loans, well, contact Abe Legal. We can set up a virtual appointment with you from the comfort of your home or your office, 24 hours a day, with lawyers around the country who are ready to help you to address the problems that you are facing. That's Abe.legal. This is Talib Kareem, CEO of Abe Legal with Abe for President. We look forward to coming back to you on Monday. We plan to do this podcast every day, Monday through Friday, until this money is released, and perhaps even through to the end of the election. So this is Abe for President from Abe Legal. We look forward to coming back to you next time with a new update on what's happening with the unemployment benefits and also the stimulus checks. Until then, take care.